The moment the taxi stopped in front of my house after 23 days in ICU, my only son opened the door and said these exact words. "Mom, this is not your house anymore. The papers are signed. Leave." I was 67, still bleeding from surgery, holding a cane in one hand and hospital papers in the other. He was wearing the Rolex his dead father gave him, while telling me I was now homeless. What he didn't know was that for the next 18 months I would become his worst nightmare. Because I didn't just take my house back. I took their money, their freedom, their reputations, and I made sure my own son cried in a prison jumpsuit while calling me ma'am. If you have 3.5 hours and you want to feel pure, ice-cold justice, do not move. This is the longest, darkest, most satisfying revenge you will ever hear. Everything changed while you were in the hospital. This house is no longer yours. You have no place here. Find somewhere else to live. Those were the very first words my only son Richard said to me, the second I stepped out of the taxi with a cane, fresh stitches in my hip, and a plastic hospital bag full of painkillers. I had almost died 3 times in the last 23 days. Sepsis, heart arrhythmia, a blood clot that traveled to my lungs. The doctors gave me a 38% chance of walking again. I beat those odds, only to come home and discover my own flesh and blood had sold the house my husband Anthony and I spent 32 years paying off while I was unconscious. The roses I planted the week we moved in were still blooming. The porch swing Anthony built the summer Richard was 5 was still there, but everything else was wrong. The curtains were different. There were new luxury cars in my driveway, and standing in my doorway was Richard, flanked by his wife Veronica and her parents Raymond and Claudia Sterling, all 4 of them looking at me like I was a door-to-door salesman who got the wrong address. Richard spoke again, louder this time so the neighbors could hear. "We thought you were coming tomorrow. The transfer is already recorded at the county. Power of attorney. You signed it before surgery, remember?" I remembered. He came into the pre-op room with a clipboard and a smile. "Just routine medical and financial stuff, Mom. So I can pay your bills while you're under." I was shaking so hard the nurse had to steady my hand to sign. I signed 37 pages without reading one line. Because he was my son. Because I trusted him more than I trusted myself. Now he was using those same 37 pages to evict me. Veronica stepped forward wearing my emerald and diamond earrings, the ones Anthony gave me for our 25th anniversary, and my mother's pearl necklace. She smiled that fake smile that never reached her eyes and said, "Isabella, we've already boxed your clothes and photos. They're in the garage. We'll ship them wherever you end up staying." Wherever you end up staying. Like I was a college kid moving into a dorm. Raymond Sterling, tall silver fox golf tan, put his arm around Richard like a proud father and said, "It's really for the best. This house is 5 bedrooms, too big for one old woman. Claudia and I are retiring from Dallas. We need the space." I looked at my son, my voice barely above a whisper. "Richard, your father died in this living room. You took your first steps on these hardwood floors. We buried your dog in the backyard. How can you do this?" He didn't even flinch. "It's already done, Mom. Don't embarrass yourself." Something inside me didn't shatter. It calcified, turned to stone. I looked at all 4 of them, smiled the smallest, coldest smile and said, "Enjoy the house. Enjoy every single night you sleep. Because I promise you, you will never know peace again." Then I turned, limped back to the second taxi I had waiting 2 houses down, and sent one text message that changed everything. To Gloria Evans, my best friend since 1984, the woman who went from sorority sister to the most feared white-collar prosecutor turned defense attorney in the Southwest. The text was only 2 words, Plan B activated. 90 minutes later, I was sitting on a hotel bed in downtown Phoenix when Gloria walked in wearing the black suit she wears when she's about to ruin someone's life in court. She took one look at my face, closed the door, and said, "Start from the beginning, leave nothing out." I told her everything, the earrings, the new cars, the way Richard wouldn't meet my eyes. When I finished, she was quiet for 10 full seconds. Then she opened her briefcase, pulled out her laptop, and said the sentence that turned my pain into pure rage. Isabella, they didn't just steal your house. They've been stealing from you for the last 14 months, and they used your surgery as the final act. She turned the screen toward me. My brokerage account. 47 unauthorized transfers over 14 months totaling $487,231. All of them made with my digital signature while I was asleep, or gardening, or making them Sunday dinner. Every single transfer went to Sterling Phoenix Holdings, LLC. Then she clicked another tab, Maricopa County Property Records. In the last 180 days, the Sterlings had quietly purchased 9 houses on my street and the 2 streets behind me, all cash, all under different LLCs that traced back to the same MY address. Then came the knockout punch. A zoning amendment application filed 11 days ago while I was still on a ventilator. Request: change the entire 3-block historic district from single-family residential to high-density mixed-use commercial. Projected profit after rezoning, $28 to $34 million. And right there in the applicant notes. Project headquarters, 4127 East Cambridge Avenue, my house. Gloria closed the laptop and said, they needed 3 things to pull this off: fast money, your money; a local address with clean title, your house, you out of the way permanently if necessary. She opened one final file, an email from Veronica to her father dated exactly 9 months ago. The subject line, Phoenix green light. One sentence in the chain made my soul leave my body. Target is now fully compliant. Mother booked total hip replacement October 14. Complication fatality rate in 65-plus females is 18.7%. We move the second she's admitted. They didn't just rob me. They scheduled the robbery around the day I went under the knife, and they were hoping I wouldn't wake up. I looked at Gloria and said the words I never imagined I would say about my own child. I want them in federal prison, all 4 of them. I don't care if Richard is blood. He dies in court with the rest. Gloria smiled the smile that has made CEOs cry and said, then we don't call Phoenix PD. We call the FBI Violent Crimes Against the Elderly Task Force, and we give them the perfect witness. You. That night we started the war. For the next 31 days we lived like ghosts. Paid cash for 2 extended stay suites under fake names. Bought burner phones every 3 days. I walked with the cane like a broken old woman. But every night from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., I sat with Gloria and 2 retired FBI forensic accountants, and we tore their lives apart line by line. We found everything. Forged hardship letters supposedly written by widows in their 80s. Appraisals inflated by 400%. Loans that were designed to default on day 1. 11 elderly homeowners in Dallas who lost everything and never saw a courtroom because the Sterlings paid them tiny settlements with NDAs. And the smoking gun, Richard's name on 14 of the wire transfers. My own son personally clicked approve while I was in surgery, day 32. I put on the Navy suit I wore when I testified against a bank president in 2009. I did my hair and makeup like I was going to my husband's funeral all over again, and I walked back into my own house at 2:14 p.m. on a Thursday. Veronica was getting filler in Scottsdale. Claudia was at tennis. Raymond was showing a fake investor the future development site. Richard was at his office downtown. I used the side kitchen door that no one ever locked, the same door Richard used to sneak in drunk at 17 thinking I didn't know. I heard Raymond's voice in Anthony's study. He was on speaker with 2 men I didn't recognize. Once we close the Miller and Chen properties Friday, we control 58% of the voting block. We used Mrs. Hayes's Edward Jones login for the last week's 180K wire. The bank flagged nothing because it had her IP mask. I pressed record on the body wire the FBI tech had taped under my blouse that morning, took one silent breath, and pushed the door open. The room froze. Raymond actually dropped his Montblanc pen. "Isabella, how the hell?" I smiled and said. "Good afternoon, Raymond. Still committing federal wire fraud in my dead husband's study, I see." One of the investors tried to leave. I blocked the door with my cane and said, "Sit down, you're all on camera." Raymond went white as printer paper. He tried the She's Senile card. I played the recording I just made on my phone at full volume so the hidden mics picked it up crystal clear. Then I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "I'm wearing a wire, Raymond. The FBI is listening live. And they just heard you admit to identity theft, elder abuse, and conspiracy to commit fraud." He lunged, grabbed my wrist so hard the watch cracked. I screamed on purpose. Exactly 4 seconds later, the front door, back door, and garage door exploded inward simultaneously. 12 agents in FBI windbreakers screamed, "FBI, DOWN on the ground, hands where we can see them." Raymond was face down on my rug in under 8 seconds. I stood over him while they cuffed him and said, "You should have let go when I asked nicely." Veronica was arrested getting out of her Maserati at the salon parking lot. Claudia was cuffed on the tennis court in her white skirt. And Richard walked in at 5:23 p.m. carrying Thai food like it was any other night. 20 agents turned as one. He looked at me sitting on my own couch drinking tea from my own cup and said, "Mom, please tell me this is a nightmare." I looked at him and said, "No, son, this is justice. And you're going to feel every single second of it." He cried, begged, said he was coerced, said he only signed because they threatened to leave him penniless. The U.S. attorney played the bank footage of him laughing with Veronica while emptying my safe deposit box. He stopped talking after that. 18 months later, the trial was over. Raymond, 19 years. Claudia, 15 years. Veronica, 17 years. Richard refused to flip, so he got 21 years. Every single penny plus punitive damages was returned. The rezoning was killed. The neighbors who were scammed got their houses back for free. And I got to sit in the front row when the judge read the sentences. Richard writes me letters from FCI Tucson every month. I send them back unopened with one line written on the envelope: "You taught me blood doesn't get special treatment." People keep asking if I feel guilty. I sleep like a baby, in my house, with my roses, and the new security system that no one will ever bypass again. So if anyone in your family ever thinks you're too old, too weak, or too nice to fight back, remember the 67-year-old woman who walked with a cane into her own house and walked out with 4 federal prisoners and $34 million worth of justice.